Good evening and welcome to Political Capital, the intersection of money and power. I am Karabole Tata. Curious weeks we've had at the state capture inquiry. We had the former Minister of Public Enterprise quickly followed up by the current Minister of Public Enterprise, and Pravin Gordhan's testimony, much awaited as much as it has its detractors. There was heat inside and outside of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry proceedings. On this show, we will be bringing you some of that. We will start with the testimony of former Public Enterprise Minister Barbara Hogan, then swiftly make our way to Pravin Gordhan. But what is this commission worth? To what end are we hearing all these testimonies? And can we really expect that Cyril Ramaphosa will take strong actions on the back of this? I will be speaking to UCT Associate Professor Kathleen Powell just about what we can expect from these commissions. But first, let's start with Barbara Hogan. Another curious week at Parktown in Johannesburg, where the Zondo Commission of Inquiry into State Capture is hearing testimonies. Coincidence or otherwise, as soon as the former Minister of Public Enterprises started speaking about the electricity provider, Eskom, we had a blackout.
If Eskom is not performing.
Yes. Now,
and Transnet, let me just...
Yes.
Transnet...
So maybe you shouldn't talk about blackouts.
It's been 3 days on the stand, and former Public Enterprises Minister Barbara Hogan has left it all bare here for this commission to digest. She says that during her time in office from 2009, when Jacob Zuma came into power, until the bitter end in 2010 of October, she had trouble relating to her boss. She says that former President Jacob Zuma would not adhere to corporate governance standard, even going as far as to go against the recommendation of a board that recommended Siyabonga Gama should not become the CEO of Transnet. But instead, Jacob Zuma wanted one name and one name only. He was stuck on Siyabonga Gama, and Barbara Hogan says the president instructed her not to take any major decision until the disciplinary hearing verdict comes out with regards to Siyabonga Gama, when the board was clearly set on appointing then favorite Sipho Maseko, who moved to another partly owned state entity that is Telkom. But this is Barbara Hogan in her own words.
So Transnet board passed a resolution to say that this contract, the work must be done in-house. Only to find out later that Mr. Gama had signed off the contract with no reference to that it should be in-house. As the general manager of Transnet Freight Rail, it was his job to sign off on the contract. And he gave evidence that he hadn't, he was under pressure and he quickly signed it. He hadn't really read it through because he was more or less aware of the contents.
But that was only the beginning of the fight between then minister and then president. It was also to manifest itself with regards to decisions that different state-owned entity boards would take that did not necessarily please the president. And on top of that, there was the small little matter of how the Gupta brothers, together with the Jet Airways chairperson, really put pressure, or at least tried to make sure that then minister cancels the lucrative route from Johannesburg to Mumbai.
I was also aware that a lot of the SA routes, international routes, were recording losses. But the Mumbai route was the least loss-making route. And I repeat that, it was really the least loss-making route. So when I heard that South African Airways was going to terminate its route to Mumbai, I was confused. There's Cheryl, I'm in India with the president now. Is there any truth to the rumor that South African Airways is going to terminate its route to Mumbai? There is a rumor here and we need clarity. Cheryl immediately responded on the same day, and she said, no, we will not be terminating Mumbai. It must be Jet Airways still lobbying for this.
But it all comes down to this. How much inference of state capture did Barbara Hogan really leave on the floor? Why does she think that she was ultimately fired from her job by then President Jacob Zuma?
It is my firm belief, it's not my firm knowledge, it is my firm belief that my resistance to the strong views of President Zuma in relation to the appointment of certain preferred candidates to the positions of CEO and members of board directors, including the CEO and chairperson of Transnet, at the time that I was minister, led him to the conclusion that I would not do his bidding and behave improperly and unlawfully. I believe it was for that reason I was dismissed by President Zuma. It appeared to me that there might have been further reasons why there might have been stronger reasons than just disliking me or seeing me assaulting me for my position. But that is speculation. But I must say that in light of all that has surfaced, I would say I do believe that that was part of his reasons. That particularly when I look at the Siyabongagame issue, that the president removed me. I believe it, I can't state it as a fact.
Long, technocratic, laborious, and intentional. State Capture Commission was itself captured by Pravin Gordhan, inside and out. Former Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan says the other Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene was right about his claims of pressure to sign the R1 trillion nuclear deal, a project former President Jacob Zuma was besotted by.
So the anticipated revenue in that year was 824 billion, plus minus. 824 billion, total revenue. You can add to that borrowing of 154 billion. The total expenditure would have been about 979 billion. So your total budget for that fiscal year was less than R1 trillion. So you're talking about one project that's equal to your entire expenditure budget for that year.
Pravin Gordhan, who himself came in to douse the collapsing markets and plunging currency when Zuma fired Nhlanhla Nene, would suffer the same fate in a midnight cabinet reshuffle last year.
In my family, I did take the position and served in that position until just past midnight on the 30th of March, when watching television and the intrigue that was unfolding at the time, and learned from the TV screen that a number of us were in fact dismissed.
He found nothing amusing about the lack of arrests in South Africa's biggest heist.
Why is it that no real big figure finds themselves in orange uniforms yet? In other words, why aren't they being prosecuted effectively? And there are all sorts of narratives which other people can come to the Commission with, but how many files are waiting on the desk of the National Prosecuting Authority where investigations have been done, charges have been formulated, but prosecutions haven't been either initiated or completed?
While Gordhan was turning up the heat inside, the Red Berets were boiling over outside. But back inside, Gordhan was far from done. He inferred to the Commission that the cabinet members and subcommittees would be repositioned to suit purpose and Zuma's nuclear ambitions.
In June 2014, that is after the elections, the NNEECC was converted into the Energy Security Cabinet Subcommittee and was chaired from then on by the former president in place of the Deputy President, Mr. Motlanthe. So earlier references might have to be corrected. And the ESCS, as it is now called, was responsible for oversight, coordination and direction of activities for the entire energy sector, but clearly the focus was on the nuclear part of it at that point in time.
The two-times finance minister, Gordhan, says the state-owned arms manufacturer, Denel, and its board were predominantly captured by the Gupta family and bent over backwards to hurry a deal with the Gupta lieutenants Salim Essa and Jacob Zuma's son, Duduzane. All this while the rand and the markets were tanking.
It's not even days later, but a day later, after Mr. Nene was removed, on the 10th of December 2015, when Mr. Van Rooyen was appointed as finance minister. That's on the 10th of December 2015. In terms of 69, by 11 December 2015, the formal PFMA application seeking approval for the establishment of Denel Asia was submitted, addressed to the newly installed minister.
That was Pravin Gordhan's first day of testimony before a commission that he and so many others have called for. But on the second day of it, the EFF is unrelenting, and he's turning up the heat inside.
There were repeated efforts to try to meet me or get me into a meeting, all of which either the office turned down, or if I was informed about it, I turned down. I've never been to Saxonwold, the so-called compound, nor, by the way, as I indicated earlier, did I look for the shebeen. I've had no direct one-on-one meetings with the Guptas, and I hope the media gets this clear. I've had meetings with Mr. Ambani as a business person and a billionaire from India who runs a communication company called Reliance Communication. And the reason I agreed to meet with Mr. Ambani is because he could be a potential investor in South Africa. So a Gupta, according to Mr. Makhajane, was present. The fact that I don't even remember this person being there shows you the amount of significance I have attached to it. It's not about hiding, it's about not giving any cognizance to that fact. So I was requested to be at a meeting with the president. I was then asked to go to the room where he was present, and I find this short gentleman sitting there, and I'm introduced to him, or he's introduced to me by the president as his friend, and so Gupta, and that he has some expertise in small business and finance. As a courtesy to the president, I didn't want to say I don't want to talk to him. I listened to whatever little comments he wanted to make about business and finance for about 2 minutes. And I think it became quite evident to him that I'm not interested. And he left, and my meeting with the president continued. I don't make deals for jobs. I don't need to. I don't make deals with smugglers or taxpayers or submit to intimidation or bullying of any kind. Those who are making the accusations that they are, or these allegations, either outside of this forum or elsewhere, should, under oath, come to commissions like this one, and this one in particular, and say what they have to say.
Connect the dots. That is Pravin Gordhan's famous line from the state capture incident. Today, he left a trail of evidence for this commission to ponder and investigate. But to what end? When we return, I'm in studio and we are putting the commission on the stand.